What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. How is everybody doing? Happy Wednesday. I tell you what, I said that then, and I hate when people say happy Wednesday. You get like an email, and it will say like happy whatever. It was happy Monday, happy Wednesday. Just can't stand it. That always bothers me. Anyway, moving on. We're going to talk about some Manchester United transfers. I'm joined with by James and Marcel tonight. Marcel, second time live on the channel. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? I hope everyone's well.
All good here. James, how you doing? Welcome back.
Owen, sorry if you can hear me. Your voice has gone really slow, so sorry, I don't know what's happened at all.
Oh, technical issues already. It's a good start.
You sound like someone from Star Wars. It's really bizarre. Sorry.
Maybe
it was all fine in the warm-up.
You might have to exit and then come back in again or something like that. Maybe try doing that.
Yeah,
might be something to do with that. See, this is what happens when you go live, guys. You get technical issues. Yesterday, it happened with Flex and KG. They were having a thing yesterday where they started off and they were getting like massive technical issues. But this is why it's good that I'm joined with you, Marcel, because otherwise I'd be left on my own.
Nah. You're good, man. You're good.
Super chat from Red Baron all the way says, "Hello, can you tell KG about Steve McLaren's Dutch accent? I think it will give him a buzz. It is fantastic. This is what you call an underdog." I remember that interview that Steve McLaren did. He was manager of FC Twente. And I think it's like a common thing because I think Joey Barton did it when he went to France as well. He was at like Marseille and he started speaking with a French accent. It was.
Do you think it's natural? People, when you live in a different country, it's natural you pick it up,
Yeah, I think so. Maybe. James is flickering in and out. Anyway, we'll start on what we're going to talk about anyway. We'll start off talking about Donny van de Beek because we know at the moment Donny van de Beek, maybe we might actually see a Donny exit in January, Marcel, because Fabrizio Romano has tweeted a couple of times over the course of the last 24 hours and said the following. An update about Donny van de Beek. Palace have submitted a straight loan proposal. It's now a direct negotiation with Man United. There are also other clubs interested. Manchester United want full salary paid until June to let him leave. There is no buy option, though. And tonight, talks are ongoing for this straight loan deal. Salary coverage is now discussed with Man United. Negotiations are in progress. Patrick Vieira is pushing to have Donny as the new midfielder. So, do you think that Palace is a good move for Donny van de Beek, Marcel?
Perfect move. Gallagher's good. I think Gallagher's good. And then, partner, he's back. James is back.
He's back.
But no, I think Donny's good. I think Donny and Gallagher are a good partnership. And as long as he gets more game time, Owen, that's what you want, because we want to see him play in the Premier League against physical players, against strong players. He just needs as much minutes as possible. So I think it'll be a good move for him as long as he can guarantee the minutes. I would like to have seen him in a United shirt for as long as possible. We've purchased him to play for Manchester United. So it's kind of counterproductive in that way. What was the point of buying him if we can't get him in our United shirt? But other than that, Owen, I think it's really a good move for both parties right now. Are we getting a fee for him? A little fee for him? Or
doesn't look to be any fee. It just looks to maybe be full wages, which I think is what United are holding out for. But I'll bring you in, James. I'll bring you in for this one. Donny van de Beek to Crystal Palace. How do you feel about this one? Is it the right move for Donny? Is it the right move for the club?
I think it's the right move for all parties, to be honest. Sorry if my mic's gone weird and AirPods were playing up, so I've had to take them off. I think it's the right move for all parties. I think it's only fair for Donny that he has to play. And if he has to force that, then he has to force that. It's the right thing for the club because obviously we need to save money. Like, he's not going to get game time, so we can look at it emotionally and say, oh, Donny's got a role to play. But he quite clearly hasn't had a role to play this season. So at the end of the day, you've got to look at it and be like, it's the best move for all parties. If we can get some money out of it and save some money, then yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, Donny. I think that I don't know. I mean, I spoke about this earlier when I did the Sky thing earlier today. That I think it's a curious one because we just don't know. Like we just don't know if he's up to the Premier League standard. We don't know. There's been reports like physically he might not be up to standards in the Premier League, but ultimately we just don't know. We don't know. So I hope it goes through for the sake of him, in the sense that I want to see him have a run of games in the Premier League. I want him either prove these doubters wrong or maybe prove some of these people right. Because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Ralf Rangnick, ultimately, they've come to a bit of a similar conclusion, right? That they obviously don't rate him. And it's up to Donny now, I guess, to prove these people right or wrong. I also think that he knows that there's a World Cup later on this year, right? There's a World Cup coming on in December. He's not in the Dutch squad right now, which is a problem. Louis van Gaal has said to him, you need to be playing. If you're not playing for Manchester United, you're not going to the World Cup. That's a massive problem too. So I don't know. I think that United have got their very specific requirements when it comes to these loan deals. It was the same with Anthony Martial, whereby basically it's like, look, it has to be full wages. It has to be a loan fee as well. But I don't know. I just, for the sake of Donny, I think I would like to see him be able to do this move. But whether or not it does, I don't know. I mean, reportedly, according to The Athletic, Donny van der Beek is understood to be open to joining Palace on loan. And as we spoke about before, these talks between the two clubs are ongoing. Marcel, do you think it's a case of Donny do you think he can actually adapt to the Premier League? Is it a case of, or is it a physical problem like some of these reports are saying?
Well, the managers don't think so. I mean, Oli didn't give him a sniff. Right now, Ralph's not really giving him much game time, but I genuinely think he can. He's a good player. He sees the pass before the pass comes into him, and he distributes the ball well. Every time he's had a few minutes on, he looks all right. I feel like he can adapt to the league. He just needs to be trusted and get that consistent game time.
What do you think, James? Do you think it's a case of physically he's not up to it, or is it just the fact that he hasn't even been given a chance to even prove that?
Well, realistically, he's not been given a chance, has he? So I find it really difficult to be able to say he is up to it because I don't know. Like every time he's been given a chance, it tends to be with the second 11 and like a mixture of players. So he's never really playing with the best team. Like we saw him coming in against young boys, but he was playing with Mata and Jesse. So we didn't really see what he'd be like with like a Fred or a McTominay or a Bruno or, any combination of those. So it may be unfair, but obviously the managers have judged him not up to it. And at the end of the day, it's up to them to pick the team. Is it a physicality problem? Maybe. But that's why a Premier League loan will be best because we get to see how he fares in this league rather than sending him to a league where the pace of play is completely different. So I really want the move to go through for him and for us as a club. So the next manager coming in can have a look and be like, right, let's make a judgment on Donny. Do we keep him or do we sell him?
Well, that's the curious thing, isn't it, Marcel? Because this is kind of the case of Anthony Martial as well, is that, he could be going out on loan, but he could be coming back to a completely different Manchester United, right? We're looking at having a different manager, different coaching staff. Players might be in or out. Is this just a case of maybe he needs some time away? He might be coming back to Erik ten Hag as the Manchester United manager. So is it a case of he just needs to get away and then he could be coming back to a manager that actually rates him?
Well, for Martial, it's been a difficult 7 seasons. Every so often it's a new striker that's older than him, more experienced than him that comes in. But I feel like the Martial situation is a lot different than the Donny situation. I think Martial was destined to leave the club at some stage. He hasn't really performed to a great high level, whereas Donny it just hasn't seemed to be able to get that chance. I think James makes a good point in that, it was very good that he gets an opportunity alone within this country to play in the Premier League. But Martial's situation, I think, is a little bit different. He has an opportunity to still show his class and his level. And he's in a title race, I think, in Sevilla right now. And that's very good. It's still going to be high competitive football. But, I feel like it's time for him to move on. He's had plenty of time to show, if he's going to be that kind of striker. And amongst competition to learn, off Oli, off other high-quality strikers that we've had in the league and our team. And he hasn't been able to really come out on top for me personally. So they're a little bit different.
Super chat from Ronaldo says money towards Owen for better internet. I tell you what it is, right? It wouldn't be United View without having any form of technical issues, right? You come in, you prep a little bit beforehand, you have a chat. Literally, as soon as you press the button, everything just goes to shit. Like, oh my God. Like headphones stop working, internet stops working. It'll probably start up again in the minute that it's not working. Or I don't know. I think it legitimately, because Flex and KG were having a similar issue yesterday. It might be a StreamYard thing. I don't know what it is, but we'll persist, guys. We'll fight through, and who knows what happened. We'll move on. Let's talk about Jesse Lingard, right? Because Jesse Lingard is a big topic right now because there's a lot of stories when it comes to Jesse Lingard. James, we spoke about this briefly before we went live. There's a new report coming out from Jamie Jackson who's saying that Manchester United value Jesse Lingard at 50 million and therefore believe the 12 million bonus that Newcastle would have to pay if they avoid relegation as part of this deal that they want to do. I mean, 50 million, is that ludicrous? What's going on with that?
I think there's two sides to this, to be honest, and both of them annoy me. The first is that they value him at £50 million, which is way off for his age, for his ability, and for how long he's got left on his contract. Like that's a crazy valuation for that player. That's the first thing. The second thing is, fair enough, you value him at £50 million. If you value him at £50 million, why the hell have you let his contract run down? You value Pogba at £90 million. Why the hell have you let his contract run down? That's £140 million in two players that you value like that are going to go out the door for free. And we've seen this happen over and over again under Woodward since 2013, that players are being let go literally for no money. I've said it over and over again, but we've sold 7 players for £10 million or more in 8.5 years since David Gill left. That is not good enough for a club the size of Manchester United. We spend all this money, and that's why I wanted to see people go out, because we need to recoup some of it. Like, we can say, the Glazers need to spend money, and they do, and they're obviously a big problem, but holding on to talent for too long and not getting the money that we deserve for them is also a problem. And maybe some of that is crazy valuations, and maybe some of it is just a lack of, just the club's run pretty poorly, to be honest.
Very poorly.
Yeah, but £50 million it's way off the mark.
I mean, Marcel, what do you think of that? 50 million? I mean, Jesse Lingard maybe with 5 years on a contract, you know, a couple of years ago, maybe having a little bit of discussion, but what, 6 months left? £50 million pounds? Is it just a case of them going to Newcastle? You've got all the money in the world, so we want a bit of it.
Yeah, exactly that, Owen. And maybe after the displays at West Ham last season, okay, pushing it at 50 million, but he's definitely not worth 50 million. And we should have maybe made that sell to West Ham after the performances of last season, because we was not going to be able to fit him in the squad and get him regular game time. So, and we wanted to upgrade in the midfield. We've got, top heavy in terms of 10s. It would have been an opportunity to recuperate some of the money, like James is saying, and then, utilize that in the midfield areas, in the defensive midfield areas. So, over-evaluation on.
Yeah, I don't get it. I really don't get it. I mean, considering that, I think in the summer they were haggling over, was it like 25 or 30 million? Where have they got 50 from? Yeah. Like, it's just got to be a Newcastle tax. Like, surely it's got to be a Newcastle tax of just, you've got money, so we want it, basically.
It's about time, Owen. It's about time.
Well, yeah, it happens to us.
Yes.
Exactly, it happens to us. Maybe that's just the case. They're just incredibly bitter over their transfer dealings in the past. That, okay, we want it to happen to us. So last night it was saying that basically the Lingard deal was dead, or Newcastle felt that it was dead. Today they're saying maybe not. I mean, it would appear that United are playing severe hardball when it comes to this. This is an interesting one, though, James, when it comes to the Lingard thing. I don't know if you've seen this. So reportedly, Jesse Lingard is upset, for a variety of reasons, but he's upset at the emergence of a video on social media which appears to show Ralf Rangnick dismissing the midfielder because, quote, he will leave in the summer. Now, it's not that difficult to find. I think if you go on Twitter, you can see that basically it's a fan who's saying that. You have seen it. So for those that haven't, it's this fan going, I love Jesse Lingard. I hope Jesse Lingard stays. And Rangnick goes, he's leaving in the summer. What do you make of that?
What do I make of it? I understand why Lingard's upset that that's been circulated and that's come out. But at the same time, Rangnick's been proven to be very cutthroat. We've spoken about this before. He doesn't seem to be that bothered about who he upsets or when he upsets or what he says. He seems to basically have no filter, which, to be honest, I'm not that annoyed about. Like, if you look at when we were calling for the next manager, everyone was like, we didn't want a puppet. We didn't want someone who would just say what the Glazers wanted them to say. That was the argument against Conte, that, he'd be too abrasive. He'd go against the Glazers. There'd be arguments. And actually, Rangnick's coming out and just talking honestly, like, these players aren't good enough. This player's going to go. So from that point of view, I'm kind of happy he said it. With Jesse, though, I saw an Instagram post by his brother, which was basically like, he retweeted something and he basically said, like, don't believe everything you hear. This is nothing to do with Jesse or something. It was about the move, like, because it was basically Jesse saying, that, people saying Jesse wanted to go to West Ham and then saying he didn't want to, and his brother was like, no, it's nothing to do with Jesse, the club are blocking the move. So I think Jesse's just annoyed that he's not being allowed to play football where he wants to play football. I think he's seen something else that's annoyed him. And probably similar to Martial, he just wants to go and play football. Like, he's not past it. He's in his late 20s. I know he's not a kid anymore, but he's in theory, the prime of his career, and he wants to go. So I can see why Ranić said it. I can see why Jesse's annoyed. It's just one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, Marcel, I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, should he even be annoyed? Because it's not as if Ranić's saying stuff that isn't necessarily true. He is leaving in the summer. Everyone knows it. So why should he be annoyed by that?
He shouldn't. He should be focused on his football, to be honest with you, and waiting for the opportunities to come on and play. At the beginning of the season, he scored an important goal for us against West Ham, against the club that he was playing well for in crucial moments. So, speculation and stuff on the media and stuff is nothing for them to worry about as a player. And you should be focusing as much as you can on performances and playing well for the club. In terms of, him leaving in the summer, I think it's something that, like we were saying before, is long overdue. So this is just speculation and time shouldn't be wasted on this for Jesse. And hopefully he gets a few other opportunities to play for the club.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting part of it as well. So again, because there's lots of reports about Lingard being angry or frustrated about either the Newcastle deal collapsing or Ranić's comment in this video. There's also another report from Rob Dawson from ESPN, James, that says he's also disappointed that Manchester United have refused to negotiate with Tottenham or West Ham this month because they see them as top 4 rivals. But again, I not wanting to be I'm going to completely back the negotiators because they don't deserve a lot of flowers when it comes to negotiating. But isn't this that does make sense though? Why would you send a player to help out the top 4 rivals? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, to be fair, you're right, it does make sense. But you've kind of got to look at it you clearly, the messages and the signals are so mixed, right? Because on one hand, they're saying they're valuing Jesse Lingard because they're saying he's a £50 million player and he would improve our rivals to the level that they can compete for top 4 and take that spot off us. But at the same time, you're not valuing him because he's getting no game time. So it's which side of the fence do you sit on? He's either good enough to strengthen your rivals and therefore should be good enough to play and is worth whatever they think he's worth, or he's not good enough. You can let him go to your rivals because he's not going to have as big of an impact. I don't see how the two can coexist and be true. Because is he going to, I read something before, which was it probably says how much we've fallen as a club that we're worried about strengthening West Ham, Tottenham and other teams when really we should be streets ahead. We shouldn't be worrying about them top 4. We were second in the league last year. We signed Cristiano Ronaldo, Jadon Sancho and Rafael Varane, and we're worried about letting Lingard go because it might strengthen West Ham or Tottenham. Ridiculous situation. It's an underperformance of the team this season, and Lingard's probably copping it at the end of the day because he should be allowed to move and go and play football where he wants to.
I mean, looking on the other side of the things then, Marcel, kind of picking up on James's point there, can you understand though Lingard's frustration when it comes to the lack of game time, considering that it would appear that at one point he was promised that he was going to be playing and obviously that's just not happened?
Yep, and it's just it just shows where we are as a club. Donny was promised minutes, same situation. Lingard was promised minutes, same situation. Martial's been promised minutes plenty of times, and he sees strikers walk in the door every other season. So it's a really peculiar situation. I think Lingard obviously will be frustrated. I think he maybe wanted to move to West Ham after that season. Looked like he gelled well with the players, and now he's got an option for Newcastle, hopefully. I don't know. I think on the way he must look at it is that, what more can he really do? He goes on loan, performs well, doesn't get the opportunity, comes and plays for us, scores goals for us, doesn't get a consistent opportunity. And he has the kind of style that Ralph would want, the pressing, the tenacity, and he's still not getting a look into the side. So I think it's a very difficult situation for him to be in, but that's what I'm saying. He just needs to focus on training and getting back. He's had personal issues, the season before, and he's developed and built himself back into a consistent playing footballer. And like James said, he's in and around his prime. Focus on your game, and you will get your opportunities to leave, hopefully, when the time is right. And it's difficult as well because we are still competing for that top 4. So I feel like we're playing like a transfer chess in that we need to hold the players and keep them away from other teams, but we're not going to play them if they're not showing the level and if Bruno's performing. And so it's difficult. And we're going to lose out. You know, we're losing out on Pogba. We're losing out maybe financially on Martial. Might not be able to recuperate much for him, and on Lingard as well. So it's difficult, but I feel like in the long-term scheme of things, maybe holding Lingard and him kind of restricting teams that are in and around us from achieving that top 4 might bode well for us come summer.
Well, I'll stick with you then, because it's interesting you said that he needs to keep his head down and play, just focus on football, focus on training, focus on being a United player to the end of the season. But it says here that this comes from Chris Wheeler of the Daily Mirror, or Daily Mail rather, says Ralph Rangnick has given Jesse Lingard the green light to leave. However, Manchester United are yet to accept any bid. A source close to Lingard said on Wednesday, quote, "It's pointless Jesse going into work now, knowing he isn't going to feature."
Wow.
What kind of sort of mentality or viewpoint is that?
That sounds like a mid-table team. That sounds like the attitude of a mid-table team, Owen. And guess where we are at the table? So, I don't...
Yeah, I mean, what do you make of that, James? There's no point coming in because I'm not going to play.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. At the end of the day, like we've seen reports of his wages today, what, £75,000 a week that Newcastle were going to cover. If you're paid £75,000 a week, you turn up to work. You're a professional footballer. The key word being professional, yeah, which means you turn up, you do the job. Doesn't matter whether your job is to put the cones out like Mike Phelan, or whether it's to like play every week like a lot of the players. Like, you have to go. You're paid by the football club. He knows that better than anyone. He's been a United fan his whole life. He knows the club inside out better than anyone. There's no excuse for him not turning up and giving his all in whatever role he's asked to play. And that's a ridiculous thing for someone close to Lingard to say. I'd be furious if I was him and that leak came out.
Yeah, I would be as well. I mean, again, you never know when it comes to journalists, and you never know when it comes to stories and all that kind of stuff. But just that sentence alone, it's pointless going into work knowing that you're not going to feature.
For Manchester United, pointless. Wow.
Yeah, like, again, like James said, you are a professional footballer. You get paid to go to train. Even if you don't get paid to play, you get paid to train alone, to be an athlete. So, and I get it. I do understand there is frustration, right? And there is, maybe he feels broken promises, and he was told he was going to play, and this, that, and the other. I get it. But also, I would say, just even if you're unhappy, like, and you don't get the move in January that you want, 6 months. You're gone. You're gone, and when you're gone in 6 months, your destiny's in your own hands. Yeah, maybe you're not going to go to West Ham or Spurs right now. In the summer, you can go wherever you want. Man United can't stop you going anywhere. That's how contracts work. So, I don't know. That one did kind of frustrate me, to be honest, when I saw it. But again, whether or not you truly buy into it, I don't know. I'll wait and see with that. But also, following up from this report, James, it also said that Lingard was surprised to receive a call from one Manchester United executive asking him, quote, where his head was at when the club knew full well that he wanted to make a fresh start elsewhere. That's all he wanted to do. Again, is that like a really shocking thing for someone to call up and ask Jesse Lingard, where's your head at? Again, like, surely isn't that a phone call you would make, knowing that someone wants to leave, but they might be sticking around because you can't find the right deal?
I just think that in that scenario, you'd be like, you're going to be annoyed whichever one doesn't happen. Like, if you get called up, you're probably going to be annoyed that you got called up and asked, and if you didn't, you'd be annoyed that you didn't get called up and asked. So, like, I think it's completely fair of the employee to check up on Jesse to see where his head's at. At the end of the day, he's a £75,000 a week asset. If I was paying someone £75,000 a week, I'd want to know where their head was at. So I think it's a completely reasonable assumption that they should be able to make. I just think he seems unhappy. Listen, he loves the football club. He's loved it for a long time, but you've got all these Instagram posts of him in other teams. You've got all this stuff coming out. Like, he just doesn't seem happy at the moment. So at the end of the day, he's going to get annoyed over little things that probably wouldn't annoy him usually. And ultimately, he should and probably will end up going.
He has to. I think he has to.
No, continue, Marcel. Do you think it's not even a point of discussing if he's going to stay? It's done at this point.
Yeah, Owen, we're top heavy in that position. In that position, we have too many players. We're still trying to see if Donny's going to be of any use. So imagine having Jesse Lingard still sniffing around, looking for minutes there. We've purchased out in the wide areas in Sancho, and we need to get him consistent football as well. So there's so many situations in the positions that Jesse Lingard plays in. He's almost surplus to requirements, but right now, in terms of giving him away to the competition in West Ham, we can't afford to do that right now.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think, like you said before, I think it speaks volumes
Yeah.
we're like worried about. Oh, we can't improve our rivals because they might actually beat us.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It speaks a lot, doesn't it? I don't want to talk about transfers tonight as well. I want to talk about set pieces because we're crap at set pieces. We're rubbish at them, especially corners.
Bruno gives away counterattacks every single week, because of his crossing ability from these corners. He can't beat the first man. They headed the Everton was a good example. A couple times this season, last game, he just given away.
If you believe the reports today, there's a reason, right, Owen? There's a reason.
Yes, I tell you what, that is a bloody good segue, James. You're getting good at this. You're getting good at this.
Go on.
So this came from Laurie Whitwell. Who said that under Ralph Rangnick, Eric Ramsey, who was this set piece coach we brought in the summer to improve our set pieces, and I've been saying on a couple of the match views recently, stealing a living. Because if your job is to come in and improve us on set pieces, and then you don't score any set pieces, you're the only club in the league to not score from a corner. It's like over 100 corners at this point, and we haven't scored from anyone. That's a problem. That is a massive problem. So reportedly, according to Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic, under Ralph Rangnick, Eric Ramsey, who is the coach in question here, his opportunities to work on set pieces have become reduced. He has taken on added responsibilities, for instance, warming up defenders before matches, a job McKenna used to perform earlier. Now, James, if I said to you, if your job was to work on set pieces, right, you're the set piece coach, and I say to you, look, James, I'm going to give you some increased responsibility. Okay, yeah, cool. And I went, you warm up defenders before the game. You what? You warm up defenders before the game. But I do set pieces. No. You're too good at it, mate. You warm up defenders before the game. I mean, what do you make of all that?
I mean, let's go through our defenders. We probably need a furnace to warm up Phil Jones, Eric Bailly, Rafael Varane. Like they're creaking all the time, aren't they? So they probably do need a lot of warming up, I would say. I think it's absolutely crazy. First of all, it annoys me from a leak point of view, right? Like that's another leak coming out of the club that shouldn't be coming out, really. Another leak story to the media. Another example of how poorly Manchester United is ran. And if you're Ramsey, you're looking at it and you're like, why have I been asked to do this job? Like, can someone else not do it? Like, you've brought me in as a specialist as recently as 4 or 5 months ago. You've brought me in to solve this. You've taken away that responsibility. It's not like you mentioned added responsibility, but from the report, it sounds like they've removed some of his current responsibility because it's actually taking away from the time he's getting to work on that.
Yeah.
So it's like you've brought in someone who's a specialist. You're not allowing them to do that job. You're allowing him to do a more basic job, which realistically could be done by a number of people. Like, I'm a trainer for a living, right? Like, warming up people is like, go on the treadmill for like 10 minutes, do some stretches.
That's what you do when you go for an induction at the gym.
Yeah.
Go on the treadmill.
Literally.
They have a point around. They'll go, these are the machines, they're the free weights. Now, you go on the treadmill for 10 minutes and I'll come back.
Exactly. Basically, that's it, right? So that's Ramsey's job now. No, obviously, it's a bit more technical for a game and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's not as technical as set pieces and how we defend and attack them. And clearly, that's a problem for us this season, as I think it's like 110 corners now with no goals. And we've got Harry Maguire, who was probably signed with the intention of scoring lots of goals from corners, which he seems to be able to do when he plays for England. But as soon as he pulls on a United shirt, he's nowhere near the ball. He's got an absolute 50p head for United. So the whole situation is just, it dumbfounds me, mate. Dumbfounds me.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, so, I mean, just in general, what do you think about the set piece situation at United? Is it a case of a lack of coaching? Is it a case of just the delivery isn't right? Or is it a case of all of the above? We just don't know what we're doing when it comes to those attacking set pieces.
We just don't know what we're doing. It's all of the above. And we should have a routine. There should be like, a 3 or 4 set pieces that we would do usually. I haven't seen anyone do any short passes, and maybe Bruno's the wrong taker for the job. I think Luke Shaw was doing them for a little while and still no dividend from him.
You see like 2 or 3 per game. Give it a go, don't you?
Yeah. So I think we need, a structured routine. We know where the players are running to, whether you're back post or front post. There needs more structure to it, and we need a designated taker. Obviously, not Bruno. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And I think to the point of now, like you said, Marcel, like in a couple of games now, we actually look really vulnerable from our own offensive corners. A couple of times they've just had Brentford, they had it. We have a corner, and I'm worried, like, when this doesn't beat the first man, we're going to be in trouble here, and it doesn't, and then the counter attack's on. So it's not just how we're setting up, inside the box. It's also, offensively, who's on the edge of the box? Who are we keeping back? How are we setting up from that as well, which is a concern. But it's funny that you mentioned about short corners, because in this report, it did say that one strategy not explored yet by Manchester United are quick corners. Some close to the club believe that, done correctly, this would allow United to maintain momentum at crucial stages and prohibit opponents from setting up ready for counter-attacks. James.
Yeah.
So basically, they're admitting that what they're doing is wrong. Can it be fixed with just short corners, or is it way bigger than that?
I think it's way bigger than that, although it may solve the counter-attack problem. But just on that, like you mentioned that we think it as fans, like we're scared about the counter-attack. So if we see it, then opposition managers are going to see it as well, right? So they're going to set their team up and be like, listen, we're going to work on quick transitions, on getting up the pitch quickly, because this is a situation where United are vulnerable. And we've seen it over and over again this season. Do short corners fix it? I'm not sure. Like, Marcel will attest to this. Like, at the match, when anyone plays a corner short, you all like, oh, just put it in the box. Like, that's what everyone says, right? Whilst they're screaming like attack, or whatever else nonsense they're shouting. But people, fans in general, don't like to see short corners. However, if you're 110 not out from corners and you've not scored from one, I'd pretty much take anything at this point. Is Phil Jones available to take them again?
Oh, I remember that. That was mad. Yeah, Marcel, do you think it's a case of short corners fix everything, or is it just a case of we just got to keep trying something? Like, it's like one of them going eventually, right?
Change the taker, please, Owen. Change the taker. Every single time Bruno takes it, I know counter-attack's going to happen, and we're vulnerable. So we need to change the taker. I don't know if I think I like Luke Shaw's corner taking ability. We just need to have he just needs to know whether he's going to aim for the back post or the front post. If we're going to have Maguire flicking on the header or attacking the goal with his headers, to have some sort of structure and idea who's going to be outside the box waiting for the shot. If that's Scott McTominay, just have some sort of idea of what you're looking for, and a consistency, because there's not much consistency. It's just not beating the first man right now, and that's literally what we're doing consistently.
Is Tellez? I mean, should it just be a case of maybe Tellez being the corner taker, or
that's a good shout?
Anyone, like whoever it is, like, because that kind of frustrates me in the game where it'll be someone's going to take it. Say it's like Bruno, but then the next one's taken by Tellez, and the next one's taken by someone else. It's like, well, shouldn't that kind of be decided before the game? Yeah. Shouldn't that be something that's figured out?
Well, it should be. But let's say, for example, we give Tellez the responsibility and say, right, you're our set piece taker now. How long until someone tells him to warm up the defenders instead? Like, realistically, I mean, every time we give someone a job, we just change their job. Like, Marcel's right. We do need to change the taker from time to time. Bruno, the thing is, I don't mind the kind of ball that Bruno puts in if we have a near post runner, like that's going for the flick on and then we challenge for the second ball. I never see any United player attack the near post, never mind a good header of the ball. If you had like a Maguire or a Ronaldo flashing across the near post, I'd accept that kind of delivery. But they're not. They're all queuing up around the penalty spot and the back post. So it's like you need to either float it in or play it deeper. And it looks like they're not working on it yet. They have this specialist. It makes zero sense.
He's robbing the living.
Maybe considering that, and maybe this is just like, as a fan looking on, but maybe it's the truth. It doesn't feel like when they're stepping up to take a corner, like there's any coherent plan. Like, okay, I'm going to make this run. I'm going to do this. Like, they get out that little flip book every time they come on. I think it's Eric Ramsey gets out the little flip book. You're here for the corner, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I'm not seeing that. I'm really not seeing that from the corner. I just see it as like almost like Sunday League, where it's just, I'll put it in. Get it in there. But it feels like that, doesn't it?
But they don't even get it in.
No, exactly. And like you see that clip of Ralph Rangnick before he came into United of however many percentage of goals are scored from set pieces. So you should spend this amount of time on set pieces. I'm just like, are we? And maybe it's become a thing now. This is almost my concern too, is that it's become such a big thing that now people are aware of. If you don't score a corner for 4 or 5 games, people don't even know. They're just like, okay. But when you haven't scored over 100 corners, and you're the only team in the league that hasn't scored a corner, think about it mentally. Like when they were setting up for corners, the opposition must know they ain't scoring. The players must know themselves, we're probably not going to score from this corner. And it becomes a thing, doesn't it? Like that's got to play in your mind, right?
I was thinking to myself, I think Varane has a good headed chance against West Ham, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we're actually going to score. But it was so far. But I'm just, because somebody got their head to it, and it was going towards goal. So it's like, but it's just to no avail right now. But they need literally just option A, option B, option C. Have a suggestion of how you're going to show that to the rest of the players that you're doing said option, and then go for it. But it's like that doesn't happen. But you're just kicking it in there and hoping for the best.
I think the actual average is only like 1 in 40 or 1 in 50, like goals from corners. So like realistically, we should have only scored like 2 or 3 anyway. But like Owen said, it's the fact that we're very aware of it now. So there's groans in the crowd every time a corner hits the first man. It gives the defending team confidence because that, like you said, that realistically we're not going to score from it, so they can have the confidence to attack the ball and spring a counter. So it is a thing now. We just need to basically we just need to break the duck basically and get a goal. I don't even care how.
Yeah, I think my concern would be like going to like away grounds, because now it's becoming such a thing. We get a corner, everyone's gonna be like, whoa. Like remember when Rory Delap had like the throw in, and it got to a point where the ball was going to go out for a throw in, and he hit it out for a corner instead because he thought they're less dangerous. It'll be like that. If we go out for a throw, they'll go get out for a corner because they're not going to score. Don't worry about it. It kind of feels a bit like
counter-attack opportunity on hands.
Exactly. It's like it's premeditated. The thing, we want to do a counter-attack, right? Hit out for a corner. As David Lee says, guys, be sure to smash a like on the like button and be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. We'll keep this one relatively short tonight, guys, but I do want to finish off talking about Anthony Martial. We spoke about him the other day, but obviously it's now been officially confirmed. He's been in the Sevilla kit. There was the video of him being welcomed to Sevilla by the original Ronaldo on the screen. I don't know if you saw that as well, who's apparently Anthony Martial's like hero, idol. James, what do you think about Anthony Martial going out on loan? Is it a case of, because I spoke about this the other night, and I don't know how you feel about it, that it's a bit like with Ollie in the sense that everyone was like, yeah, he needs to go. He's taken us as far as he can go. He's got his ceiling. We need to move on. And you felt quite strong in your convictions that was the right thing to do. But then when you do see the interview with him afterwards and him sort of getting a bit emotional and a bit teary or whatever, and realizing that it didn't work out, you're like, like that sucks, And it's like a bit like Marcel saying no. Yeah, heartless. But like, is it the same with Martial in the sense that you see him going out on loan and he is going to be coming back, but do you sort of feel like, like this was a guy that they had a Ballon d'Or clause in his deal? Like there was hopes.
Yeah, I think it depends if you look at things emotionally or logically, right? If you look at things emotionally, you think, yeah, he's been here a while. Like he just wants to play football. Every time he's been like, had a chance or been in good form, something's come in, upset the apple cart, and therefore, it's not worked out for him. If you look at things logically, he's played basically a couple of 100 games for United. He's had a fair few memorable ones, but much more average ones. And he wasn't getting any minutes this season. You can talk about, but he did bits against West Ham and set up a goal. It's like, well, he played a 5-yard pass, and it's the first thing he's done in about 2 months because it's the only time he's played. So if you look at it logically, we've got Martial, who's on £245,000 a week, who isn't playing. We've got Anthony Elanga, who's on £5,500 a week because he's got a new contract, who is playing. Like, logically, I don't think there's any reason where you can say Martial should stay. He wanted to go, remember? Like, that's the key thing that people forget. Like, he wanted to leave. He told Ranić he wanted to leave. He wants to play football. We've got the World Cup in Qatar in December. So, like, everything from the club and from Martial's point of view points to it being a good decision. I'm seeing a lot of emotion like on Twitter from United fans and stuff, which is great. Like you can love Martial as a player, you can love him as a person.
The same.
Like you can even go you can obviously go and support Sevilla if you want, but like there's that one tweet that was doing the rounds like, if you're not sad to see this guy go, you're not a United fan. I'm like, shut up. Like honestly, like it's just ridiculous. Like the guy was a United player. He's not getting enough game time. He wants game time. He's gone to Sevilla. They're second in the league. It's great for him. he might win silverware before Rashford and Greenwood and Ronaldo. So, like, it's a great move for him. It's a great move for the club. We've got options in that. Like, we might finally get to see Greenwood at number 9 if Ronaldo or Cavani gets injured. And he's apparently the best natural finisher at the club. So I only see positives, but apparently that means I hate Martial. So you can't win.
Yeah.
Marcel, what do you think about the Martial move? I think it's a good point that James makes, is that, like, for me, I don't have an issue with it at all. I really don't. If he wanted to play games, he wanted to leave. His agent said so in December, so it's something he's wanted for a while now. Again, talk about another player that probably got reassurances that haven't been delivered on, and he's going into a side that's 4 points off top of La Liga. I mean, I think it suits everyone. But what's your feeling on it? Are you one of these people that's sad to see him go, or you like James?
I'm very, very happy that he's leaving. I spoke to Flex on the fan cams in Southampton, and I said he should have been gone then. I've been saying from then he should have been gone. He's not a Manchester United number 9. He's played well for out of the 7 seasons, maybe 2, 1.5, and it's time for him to go. Ollie was talking about his ability to get those little tap-ins and stuff. We don't see that from him, so he's just not a number 9 for us. He's, like you said, he wanted to leave, and I'm happy that he's leaving now. 250k a week. That is a big wage, but that is a big set of wages that needs to go alongside with Pogba. There's so many problems that we need to fix, and Martial's just a small piece. When he comes on, done something amazing for us though. So I have to praise him for what he has done when we needed him to do it against West Ham. But in terms of his contributions throughout the whole tenure at this club, he needs to go, and I'm happy to see him come.
Yeah, as a number 9, Marcel,
the end for him?
Sorry.
No,
I was just going to
James.
say, like, as a number 9, like, to put it in perspective, like Marcel said, we don't think he's a Man United number 9. He's not very good. He got welcomed to Sevilla by probably the best number 9 I've seen in my lifetime, right? And, like, it just puts it in perspective that he's nowhere near that level, or even like close to that level, like as a number 9.
They're buzzing though. Sevilla are buzzing. Have you seen the tweets?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen the admin account? They love it.
Don't get me wrong. He might do well though.
Right? Have you seen the meme where it's the guy with his girlfriend there, and he's got his head turned towards the other girl, and it's us doing usual content, and then the girl he's looking at is like, "But we signed Martial in a transfer window," and his head's turned like that. Love it.
Yeah, they're loving it. I think they're very excited. And from their perspective, why wouldn't they be? Again, 4 points off. They're in an unbelievable season. They think, tell you what, Martial, French international, that might be it. That can just maybe bridge the gap or get us over the finish line.
Was he ever going to reach that Ballon d'Or clause? He had a Ballon d'Or clause. Was he ever going to reach that Ballon d'Or clause?
No, he would. No chance.
Yeah,
no chance.
There's zero chance.
The question I was going to ask you then, Marcel, because it seems that you've got your opinions on Martial. Do you see this as the beginning of the end for him then? Do you think he's done? Or do you think, because obviously he says there is no buy clause, so he's kind of come back, but do you think it's a case of he's going to come back for United to basically negotiate a higher price if he does well this season, or do you think it's done? Do you think he's over?
Well, hopefully we don't do any silly valuations and all of a sudden he's worth an extra 30 million or something.
Jesse Lingard. 100 million.
Yeah. Hopefully, but it's we respect the performances that he'll have out there, and I hope he does well. And I respect what he's done at the club here, but I do feel like his time is done. We need to save. We need to save the money. The 250k a week. We need to get better players in. There's players like Declan Rice. That will be getting or asking for in and around that kind of money. So he needs to go.
Do you think it's the beginning of the end for him, James?
You know what? I know Marcel said before, it's not similar to the Donny situation. And one area where I think it could be similar is it very much depends on who the next manager is coming in, because the next manager could fancy Martial on the left. Like if he wants to play a pass and move style,
imagine it's Lopetegui.
He doesn't.
Lopetegui's been linked.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I just think if he comes back, the manager's going to have a look. Same with Donny. There's no buy clause for a reason. I think he could come back and he could fancy Martial. Hoping not. I think the time's done and we should move on from that. But you've got to look at it and think maybe he could do a job for someone. I don't think it's the beginning of
as a left winger, James.
Yeah,
he could do a job as a left winger. Yeah. I think he's a left winger, but he's got the number 9 show on his back, guys. He's not a number 9 for us.
No, I agree.
I think it's interesting. I think Lopetegui becoming the next Man United manager is not going to happen. I'll put it out there, but I'm just like my conspiracy. Maybe I'm spending too much time around KG because I think he's starting to rub off on me when it comes to like tinfoil hat stuff.
He's got good vibes.
Honestly, and I'm even like what I'm about to say. I'm almost being sick. But my theory is. Wow, exactly. These are the kind of theories we'll do. My theory is, right, we know Joel Glazer, hear me out. We know Joel Glazer loves Anthony Martial, right? We've heard that story so many times that he's the reason probably he's still there because he's such a big fan. Imagine he goes to Sevilla and they do catch up Real Madrid. They win the league. Who's the manager of Sevilla? Julian Lopetegui. Not only does Sevilla win the league, they're going, oh my God, we were interested in this manager anyway, right? He just won La Liga and he got the best out of Anthony Martial. Joel Glazer's going, get him in. Now that is the guy. He won a title and he got the best out of Anthony Martial. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Just saying. I mean,
speaking into existence, man. This is too scary. No.
Crazier things have happened, mate. Crazy
things have happened. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it was just for his sake. I hope he goes there, and I hope he does well. You know, and I think given the atmosphere that was kind of there when he came on at Old Trafford at the weekend. You know, there was some boos. I mean, there was a video of even when he came off, there was still some boos, or he was pointing out some people, and I think one of the coaching staff was having to sort of put their arm around him. If you wanted to leave anyway, that probably cements your point, right? You know, I'm not really feeling it here. Get a bit of a controversial reaction from the crowd. I mean, do you think there's any way back for him, even when it comes to fans, James, after that kind of reaction?
It's a tough one. I've flip-flopped on this so many times because literally when he said that he wasn't going to play football and he was left out of the squad, I was like, there's no way back. But the final thing for me on Martial is, like Marcel said, he's been here 6.5, 7 seasons. And what's the most memorable moment? 10 minutes into his debut, yeah? So for the 7.5 seasons since then, he's not lit up and carried on like we...
Never start off good then, basically. Exactly. Because it could only be downhill.
Yeah. Have an awful day. Well, go down the City route of things. Like all their great players have awful first seasons. Like they can never get in the team. But yeah, Martial, obviously, in front of the Stretford end, scored that worldie of a goal against Liverpool. And we were like 50 million down the drain. Tony Marshall scores. Like, we were loving it, absolutely loving it. And then unfortunately, like, he did some good things, but never continued and hit those heights. And unfortunately, like, I get slated all the time for saying attitude problem. But when you're at the games, I'm sure Marcel will say the same thing. You do see his head drop. You do see a bit of lethargy. You do see him sulk around a little bit. Like, that's not a myth. It does happen. So it's like you get a different perspective than when TV cameras follow a certain player around because you see the whole pitch. And I just, for me, who would die to put on that shirt and run around for 90 minutes, I don't appreciate that sometimes from Martial. So for me, maybe done, but you know, everyone's entitled to their opinion.
We had Carlos Tevez, Owen and James. Carlos Tevez. He looked like a madman on the pitch, possessed every single game. Rooney. These guys are forward players. What did
Carlos Tevez do, Marcel? He joined the enemy. Welcome to Manchester. Remember the billboards?
That's politics.
He's crazy. That's why he's running around so much. He's nuts.
That's football politics, I believe. I think that's football politics. But on the pitch, when you have the shirt for the club, he's running around, pressing players. Do you get it? That's what we want, you know, and you don't see that a lot, or his attitude anyway, the lethargy that, like James is saying, he doesn't look like he's someone that is going to press, and it's just, he needs to be.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, a simple yes or no from both of you then. I'll start with you, James. First day of next season, is Martial a Man United player?
No.
Marcel?
No. Hopefully.
Interesting. I'm gonna say yes.
2-word answer.
Yeah.
Finally, let's talk about potentially a midfielder coming in. We've been linked with Kamara from Marseille. I don't know how much I buy into this one, to be honest with you. I feel like there is a possibility, considering, you know, Martial's gone out the door. Maybe Donny will go out the door. We know that we need a midfielder, James. I mean, is Kamara the answer, or do we just need a midfielder?
I'm not going to go down the whole route of just needing a midfielder, because that's the whole thing that got us in the mess of having a squad of 31 players that most people think aren't good enough, right? So if we just want to sign someone because we think they're arguably better than what we've got, then we're contributing to our own mess. So I don't believe in that. I actually believe Kamara could be a very good signing. He's exactly what we need. He's a specialist 6. He sits deep. People go, the best football we've played in the past couple of years was with Pogba, Matic and Herrera in a 3. And everyone talks about replacing Scott and Fred. But actually, the person that needs replacing in that 3 is Matic. We don't have a prime Matic anymore. We don't have anyone that sits. I actually believe Scott and Fred could play one of the 8s. If we play like a 6 and 2 8s and we get a specialist 6, then I actually think, controversial opinion again, but I think Scott McTominay is a better number 8 box to box than Ander Herrera was. So when I saw people saying today like they'd have him back,
that is controversial. That took a while for me to settle that one.
Honestly, I think Scott box to box is very good. I think going forward, he's excellent. I think he carries the ball really well. I think he passes well on the move. He's probably got the best shot of anyone from outside the box in our team. He's composed. I think he's very good. I just think at the moment you're asking him to play a 6, and unfortunately, you're losing some of that attribute of going forward if you ask him to sit that deep. And I think he could play an 8. So if we sign someone like a Kamara, then it could work. And the only reason I'm saying it's potentially likely is the fact that it's like 10 million. Like, we won't be having this discussion if it was, are United going to spend 100 million on Rice? Like, we won't be having the discussion. It's a no until the summer at least. So the fact he's available cheap and may solve some of the problems now, that might entice the Glazers a little bit.
Yeah, that's
what do you think when it comes to a central midfielder? Obviously, we need one. Is Kamara the guy, or again, are we reluctant to be like we just need a midfielder? I mean, I think we've got to get it right, haven't we? So, do you think Kamara's the guy?
Well, like James has said, a 6 is what we need. You know, again, in the Southampton game, I said we should be playing 2 8s and a 6. I was saying Bruno and Pogba.
I remember the video.
Yeah,
I was
saying Pogba and Bruno as the 2 8s, and then just somebody to come in that 6. And I was saying Declan Rice at the time. He's gone on to have a fantastic season this season and be accompanied as 2 6s with Souček, but I feel like he can hold down the fort on his own. But Scott's been doing it well, you know. In the last few games, we've been playing the 1 and the 4, and he's actually been doing it quite well by himself. So Kamara, I don't know. Like James said, if we can get somebody that can fix that area and maybe even get Scott higher up the pitch, because his box to box, I think, is a bit better than Fred's, and he's scored a couple of worldies, has the long range shots as well. Owen, I feel like Scott's gonna stay for us for a long time and will continue to develop. You know, if you give him a job, he does the job. Has the long range passes as well. I think we do need the DM to come in, and Kamara looks good. He's still young, still quite young. I don't know. I would like for us to wait out and stay with Scott, if I'm honest, and wait out until to the end of the season and then get Declan Rice. I really think he's the one that we would need to just improve as a team. So I would wait until the summer.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting because I think you both kind of hit on a point there that I think United are almost reluctant to get anyone in January because they're aware that they might be panicking. And I think they're almost reluctant to be like, we've done this a couple of times. And if you don't learn from what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same things over and over again, expecting different results, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's the case with it at the moment, is that they're just like, you know what? Like you said, would we be a bit light if, say, we let Donny go out on loan? Yes. But to be honest, we only play McTominay and Fred anyway. You know, Matic comes in for a rotation game, but apart from that, you know, it's McTominay and Fred. That's the 2 midfielders. So I think maybe you're right. Maybe they are looking just, you know what, let's just get through this. Because also as well, it's a very difficult decision to make to invest 100 million, whereby you get in the opinion of Ralph Rangnick, but we don't really know his role at the end of the season as well. Yeah. You know, we could get a Kamara in, and then the next manager comes in and be like, he might just be like, actually, you know what? He doesn't fit. He doesn't fit what I'm really trying to do. Then we have the same problem again. And this is the whole problem with United just transfer business in general at the moment, isn't it? It's that there are so many unanswered questions. And you know, I guess the reason I think you're right is that the Kamara thing they're looking at going, well, it's a relatively easy deal to do. I think that's why people are thinking about it, because it was the same with Zakaria. We're talking about guys 6 months left on their deal, and they're like, oh, yeah, we can get that deal done. But if we're looking for like an elite level 6, which we should be looking for, an elite level 6 is not going to come to a club that they have no idea is in the Champions League next season, or they have no idea who the manager is next season, because they just won't. Even Declan Rice, like he might obviously he did that little sort of weird interview after the game, didn't he? I love playing there, Old Trafford. Always love playing here, all that kind of stuff. As KG would say, twerking at Manchester United. But I mean, even because he's going to have options in the summer. Chelsea are always after Declan Rice. And if Man United aren't in the Champions League, it's a really difficult proposition. I mean, last couple of minutes then, since we touched on Rice, There was a lot of discussion, James, at the weekend that, like, I think we might have spoken about it as well, or I saw on your fan view some people were talking about it. Like, people were saying when it comes to Declan Rice, the report is like they would want 100 million, and everyone's going 100 million too much. There's been a discussion of like Declan Rice, if they value him as 100 million, like he's not that much better than say Scott McTominay. What do you think about that?
I think he's a much better player than Scott McTominay overall.
Yeah.
Here's my slight issue with Declan Rice. Don't get me wrong, I want to sign Declan Rice. Declan Rice at West Ham plays a 6, but he also gets forward a bit, right? And he gets forward a bit, and he looks really good when he gets forward. He drives forward with the ball, creates loads of chances, creates plays. If United want to sign Declan Rice, I think you take away some of his game because you ask him to sit. If we play with a 6 and 2-8, you don't let him advance that far forward with the ball. You basically say, this is your job, like he used to do at West Ham. This is your job. You're here to here. You mop up. You pass it to our creative players. They go, etc. So I think you lose a little bit. The problem comes is, do you spend 100 million on a specific 6? It's a lot of money. It's not my money. It's the Glazers' money. So, like, at the end of the day, if he improves us and gets us Champions
League... It's not the Glazers' money, is it? It's the club's money. They're not spending their own money.
Ironically, it's our money that they're taking out. But yeah, I think it's a lot of money, and I'm not of the opinion that just signing a 6 fixes everything at Manchester United. I've said that countless times. There's loads of things wrong with the club that need addressing and need fixing. However, it does make us massively better on the pitch at the moment. So would I like to see Rice in a United shirt? Yes. Is he worth 100 million? Well, it comes to hindsight, doesn't it? Because at the end of the day, when we signed Maguire, I think a lot of us were probably not ecstatic, but we were probably happy-ish. We were like, you know what? We've now got a centre-back partnership in him and Lindelof where we're like, we could do something here. Like, we've got a tough ball winner next to someone that can spray a pass and is technically good. And we looked at it like that. But with hindsight, we're like, well, no, he was never worth 80 million. And this is where Marcel's point comes in, where, like, this whole Rice thing, like, I think the ideal situation is we waited out with Scott and then we sign Rice in the summer. But that's the hindsight thing, because if we get top 4, that looks like a genius move. If we don't get top 4, you're going to get the fans going absolutely berserk that we didn't sign someone for 10 million in January. Because people are automatically linking, oh, we signed Kamara, we get top 4. It's not really the case.
Yeah, not really the case.
So ideal situation, we wait it out, sign Rice. Is he worth 100 million? Maybe not. Maybe yes. Who knows? Like, yeah, sign him anyway.
What do you think, Marcel? You seem to be a Rice fan. Is he worth 100 million?
100 million's a lot of money, honestly, Owen. That is a lot of money. But, you know, I think you get the English premium, so it sounds about right. It sounds about right. I don't know. I think, like James is saying, you lose a lot of that offensive ability. But we've got Bruno, and Bruno done well when we asked him to hold in that space for when we had all the strikers on against West Ham. He was, you know, just playing the long passes. So I don't know. I think defensively, Declan understands to hold the space very well, you know, sees the passes, put on a big tackle on Ronaldo against West Ham. You know, he's good. I think he's good. And 80 million, I would say, tops. But, you know, there is a premium for the English players. So it is what it is. I would just like to see him come to the team because we really, really need a holding midfielder.
Yeah, I think you're right. There is an English tax. I mean, I saw that when it came, you know, circling back to the Martial thing. I saw a lot of people say, you know, if Martial was English, he'd still be at the club, or if he came through the academy, he'd still be at the club. And that argument is like, well, yeah, it's true, because there's homegrown rules. So of course he would still be at the club. Like, that's the rules. That's how they work out. Like, we're not in the business at the moment of selling Marcus Rashford and Mason Greenwood because, one, they're good players, but two, like, they're homegrown players. Like, they count towards something, right? Like, I just don't get that argument. I really don't. Anyway, guys, look, we've nearly gone for an hour. It's raced by, even through our technical difficulties. We got there in the end. This is always the way it works. Like, pretty much 45 minutes, I'm a blur. Now, perfect. Always the way. Always the way. Anyway, guys, be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. I'm just thinking what we got coming for the rest of the week. Oh, it's winter break, innit? Oh, they're so dull. Like, it's so dull.
Depressing.
I know, and the thing is, as well, like, people advocate for like a winter break, then they go, players need it, it's good for them. As soon as it happens, everyone's like, where is football? Football, bring it back, okay? Sick of it. We need more football. So I'm not sure what's coming for the rest of the week, but either way, we'll keep you updated. Guys, we're out of here. Peace.